Hi, my name is Mike Efferson. I work here at the National Weather Service in Slidell, Louisiana. And I just want to do a little recap of a tornado we had that touched down over in McComb, Mississippi on November 27th, just a few days ago, 2020. And just to kind of give people a little reference of where we're talking about, just to get your bearings. There's Baton Rouge. If you follow my cursor along I-12, you follow I-55 north, you'll come into southwestern Mississippi. And here's McComb, Mississippi, and this is basically right here is where that tornado touched down and it passed across the interstate and it finished around. This is actually the airport right here. So if you kind of backtrack and take a look at what radar looked like that day, and so we're going to go through that real quick. And so what I did, if we zoom in just a little bit, I've got this little red dot, which is where the tornado actually touched down. I'm back on the radar itself on the left-hand side. So if you take a look at this, this is about 1:30. It's about an hour and a half before the tornado actually touched down. Kind of scroll forward. You see this little discrete cell right here where my cursor is. You kind of think, well, maybe that's a tornado, but that wasn't it. Then you've got another discrete cell. That one didn't produce a tornado. What ends up doing it is right on the north end of this somewhat of a bow echo region where the storm's kind of pushing out, get a little dry air on the backside, and what happens is sometimes you get a little rotation on this northern side. We call it a bookend vortice. It is definitely far from textbook, but that's the closest thing we could come up with. And I'm going to change over from reflectivity to what we call storm relative velocity. And you'll see you've got a little bit of broad rotation, tightens up a little bit, which means you've got a little stronger inbound, the green colors, a little stronger outbound, right? The reddish or pinkish colors. And that's it. That's about what it looks like on radar, which is not anything close to being textbook or very obvious to us as meteorologists when we're looking at radar. The problem being is that we're about 5,000 feet in elevation from where the radar is. So the radar is shooting out way out here. I'm going to zoom out. If you'll follow my cursor, this is Slidell. That beam, by the time it gets all the way up to McComb, Mississippi, is about 5,000 foot. So the challenge with that is you're shooting 5,000 feet over the actual tornado itself. I mean, think of a tornado only being a few hundred feet tall. So, I mean, possibly taller than that in some cases. But in this situation, we're obviously way over the tornado itself. So the storm's just barely rotating at the elevation we're looking at, which makes it a lot harder to see. And so it passed through here. And by this point, if you move over towards the, look on this right screen, it's between this Highway 48 and this Fernwood, this right here where my cursor is, that's the airport. That's where the tornado stopped. And that was pretty much it. On the ground for just a couple miles, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes, and that was it. So now I'm going to go to some of the stuff I looked at when I was actually surveying and how I came up with the rating itself. So the initial touchdown, I'm going to change this view to a imagery map so we can see it a little bit better. So this is where I've got the initial starting point. I know this is Mount Vernon. If you look at my cursor, this north-south road. I don't remember what this other road down here is, but if you I'm going to zoom out for just a second, just so other people understand. So this is Percy Quinn State Park. This is Lake Tangible Hope, and there's a lot of woods out here. And I couldn't drive out in this west. There's nowhere for me to drive, even if I drove down this road. There's just the tornado could have touched down somewhere out here, but I couldn't see it. Maybe if we had a drone or something like that. So my best guess of where the tornado started was right here, and we had some pretty significant damage. So this particular image I think it was 7, 8, 9 years old. It's not new data for whatever reason. The actual mobile home was located right where I've got this point. It was in this where I moved my cursor southwest and northeast. So that one was damaged, and this one right here. That's going to be the pictures we're going to take a look at. So starting with the first picture, this is the most intense damage of the tornado itself. So you can see it was anchored down right here where these blocks were, and then it was either picked up and turned upside down 20 to 30, maybe 40 feet away, or it rolled once or twice. It was just hard to tell based on how it just landed because we didn't get to actually see it. Now the next picture we're going to take a look at, I show this picture specifically so you can take a look at what I saw. So the straps around around the frame itself actually bent the metal of that frame. And I saw this at multiple locations across the frame where the straps actually stayed with the frame as it ripped from the ground. So that was when I saw that in conjunction with this particular when I saw this, which is the anchor itself. So these anchors, they were anchored perfectly, like the correct way to do it, which is where you're anchoring all the way down to the base. You can see the dirt all the way up to the top, and this clay dirt that's still on this part of the anchor itself, that's that real dense dirt, which has got a lot of holding power. So it couldn't have been done any better than that. And especially when you take in consideration that it had anchors at every point, or every 5 feet or 6 feet or so. There was an anchor here, one where this bolt, one where these blocks were, one here, and one here. So it was 5 or 6 anchors on each side of the mobile home itself. So being it was anchored properly like that, and I saw that bent part of the frame, the expected wind speeds that it takes to do something like that is around 105 miles per hour. So a high-end EF1, and I actually kept it at that. And that's what I went with the initial rating. It was actually the strongest, as I mentioned, the strongest part of the tornado itself. The only other image I've got, I think, at this location was this was that other mobile home that I showed you, was actually on the image itself, which is, I'll close this off, which was this one right here. And that one, it was shifted off. You can see where the stairs were, so it was picked up as the homeowners. There was, I think there were 2 gentlemen that were inside the mobile home. It was picked up, moved over about 5-6 feet, and then set back down. It didn't have but 1 or 2 straps that I could actually see, but luckily that tornado itself just wasn't quite as strong at this point, or at this location. So, you know, right in this area it was really strong, and either it swirled over to here and you just had some side winds or something like that, or the tornado itself just sometimes. What we've noticed is you'll also get these paths where the tornado is not, it's not just going to go in a straight line. It'll have little zigzags. It'll go up and down like this. And so you'll see this little you'll see changes in damage like that. And that's the only thing I can guess of what happened at this point. So the tornado continued on towards the east-northeast. So the next point I've got is this little green one right here. The tornado came right through, mostly woods again. And it was pretty surprising, or luckily for these people, that you got this small house right here and an older mobile home. We'll take a look at the picture. It's like the tornado came right along this region through here and through here, but luckily, as you'll see in this picture, it actually lifted up just enough above this mobile home. If you take a look, all these trees right here, there was 6, 7, 8 trees, maybe 10, where it was all snapped, and you can see they're all snapped at 10, 15 to 40 feet in the air. So if that tornado had been on the ground, it definitely would have probably done more damage to this mobile home. But luckily for them, it was just above them and did not produce any damage to them. So let's continue on towards east-northeast. And as I mentioned, there's a lot of woods out here. So yeah, the next point was when I crossed on, I think this is Highway 48. And no homes, just some trees. So gave me another little damage point. I took this picture right here, and it looks like 1 tree. I think there's actually 2 on this side. You can see it look like on the right side of the road. I don't have in the picture frame. I want to say it was 3 or 4 trees that actually were down across the road, and the state had actually already cleared it off. So I just snapped a quick picture for another little damage point. So uprooting trees like that, I think, is around 85, 90 miles an hour, if I remember right. And again, the tornado continued towards the east-northeast. And I'm going to zoom in there. I didn't take a picture, but right here, there's a Percy Quinn sign. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. That little spot right there. The tornado actually blew down the sign, but I didn't feel comfortable getting out by myself to take a picture right there on the side of the interstate. So it blew down the sign, and the trees right here, you can see some twisted limbs. So that that tornado, it passed from this last point of Highway 48, came across this field, follow my cursor, crossed there, and then the next damage point that I actually found was over here at the airport. So we'll take a look at these last few pictures. And so kind of explain what we're looking at. This was a hangar, and this building right next to it was an office space that they used for the airport itself. So let's take a look at these pictures. First one, this is on the back side of that hangar, so on the right side or east side. This is insulation that's from that office building. As part of the roof was peeled off, and that sucked out some of the insulation from in there. And this is on the side, the north side of that building, which is where look, the door itself was actually busted out. I doubt it was when they did it. It was probably from some object that busted it from the side. Let's go to the third picture. See what we got. So this was probably the most impressive damage that I saw when I was at the airport itself. So there was 3 or 4 hangar doors that were hanging right here. They got ripped off and thrown in different locations. So the first picture you're going to look at was the door on this side was actually blown right over here, and I think that's this picture. Yes. So that's the picture of that door that was ripped off and blown on that side. You can see there's, I thought he told me, the gentleman that was at the airport told me there was two doors that were, that's one here and one over here. And this next picture, oh, same picture. Let's go to the next one. Let's try it again. All right. I'm going to click on the last one. So this is the third hangar door, and where this one was actually over in this field. So it's kind of hard to see. I'll zoom in some. This line right here is actually that chain link fence that you see in that picture. So it pulled that door out. There was markings on this diesel fuel tank right here. So it clipped that diesel fuel tank, clipped the fence, and you can't tell the depth right here, but there's actually a ravine. It threw it down into the ravine. So it pulled doors off and threw them here, and then threw them here. And some other damage that we're looking at, the last few pictures I've got, this is an older picture, so imagine this plane being right here, anchored down. And so that's what this picture was. Oops, not that one. It's this plane right here. Was actually ripped. It was anchored down using whatever rope that they use to anchor down planes. But the rope didn't actually break. It was the metal anchor itself that's attached to the blacktop that actually broke, and that's how the plane got flipped over. And that final picture I had just clipped over for a second. I think they had already, I guess this is one of the 4 doors that just blew in. And probably the most amazing thing about this part of the track itself, so the tornado picked up a plane right here, and if I move my cursor down, it blew these doors out. So it was at least this wide, so 40, 50 yards wide. This little gray spot right here that I'm zooming into, this is our automated weather observing system. This is at airports when you hear about the wind speeds or all the weather information that comes from our automated system. That's it. This is ours right here. It only measured 19 knots, so about 21 miles an hour, 22 miles an hour. That's it. Tornado, 90 miles an hour, 30, 40 yards away, and it only measured about 20 miles an hour. It's just unreal how you can have that kind of wind speed that close and not even feel but 20 miles an hour at the little weather station. So once that tornado got to this point, I didn't see any other damage over here. So I'm kind of zooming back out for a little final little picture. I'll go back to this base map, and I can show you do a little quick measurement of the distance for you. Let's see. So from this point, keep going to here, and then, oops, that's not right. It should be around 2 miles is what I measured whenever I did that. I'm not sure why that shows up as 0.3 miles, but it was right at 2 mile difference, 2 miles from the start to the ending point on that particular one. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed it and learned something. And if you got any questions, feel free to put a message down here below the YouTube, and I'll try to answer you back. Thanks. Have a good day.